Oh, here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to STAR, the #1 sci-fi club on RIT campus. One for one. We are the bridge crew on fancy name for the e-board. We have our lovely captain, Ava.
I'm Captain Ava Enoch. I'm a fourth-year mechanical engineering major.
And then I am Cameron Pages. I'm the first officer. I'm a third-year game design and development student.
I'm Philip Tracy. I'm the ops officer. I'm a third-year chemistry major.
Hi everyone, I'm your chief engineer. My name is Claire Noble. I'm the chief engineer. I'm a fourth-year web and mobile computing major.
And we are missing one member of our e-board. You will see him a lot. His name is John Finch. He's going to show up in an hour or so. He is a second-year physics major.
Yeah.
That's what John does.
And he's our comms officer. So that's us. This mission is going to be previously on STAR. Missions are what we just call our regular meetings. You are attending a mission right now. We run everything from, like we have here, where we're just kind of doing a recap on all the missions we've done in the past, so you can get a little bit of flavor of the things that we do. But we do things like trailer breakdowns, like sci-fi in this aspect of a different culture, or all sorts of different things. You'll get the gist in a couple of minutes here.
Oh, big question.
Oh, yes.
Can anyone make a mission?
Yeah, anyone at all. You just come talk to us and we put you on the docket.
Ah.
Yep.
And then, so unfortunately there is no mission next week because of Labor Day. If we get Mondays off, we just don't run missions to, not mess with other people's schedules. But after that, there's a super cool mission called Brain Blast to the Past, which is run by us here, and we will be doing like sci-fi elements in like late 90s, early 2000s TV shows like Jimmy Neutron, Parents, The Startup Girls, Invader Zim, all those sorts of things.
Also, next week, since we don't have a mission, we are going to be at RWAG. That is the board game club. It is run by that gentleman over there. He's nice. But we are going to be running Star Realms.
Yes.
Yes, it's a fun game.
It's a deck building card game, and it's 2 players or more. We're gonna have at least 3 copies floating around. We're gonna have a couple people who are ready to sit down and chat with you and teach you how to play. Super cool.
So if you need more Star, we'll be there.
So again, not to overload you guys with information, but there's no meeting next week. And then the week after that, when we do run like Brain Blast, we will be in the reading room, which is like there through that wall. It's on this floor. There's like a little like atrium-ish area immediately off your left when you leave, and then the back is the reading room where we'll be having our next mission.
It's like a little library. It's cute.
It is adorable. Otherwise, we are offering membership today. You can either pay in cash or with Tiger Bucks. And what membership allows you is it gets you discounts on all sorts of different STAR things that we have on, at your big events. It gets you discounted tickets to that. It also gets you discounted T-shirts, which most of the bridge crew is wearing today.
I have to get a new one.
But yeah, these are the STAR T-shirts. They are available for purchase. They are $10 for non-members, 10 for members, 15 for non-members. So it's a $10 membership, and that gets you the $5 off for a $10 shirt. So if you have a $20 bill, we can get you a membership and a shirt. How neat is that?
It's pretty neat.
And without further ado, we will move into the presentation, and I will hand it off to myself as I do the welcome. Welcome, everybody. You're messing up my flow. Here we go.
So sorry.
Welcome. What is STAR? I explained it already. STAR is the #1 sci-fi club on RIT campus. But we run our missions, like you're at right now, and we'll get into more detail later. But we also run a couple events throughout the year. We usually run an event in the fall, which this year is going to be our Starbecue. You've seen the posters around. We're just gonna get out, do some grilling, hang out, be cool people doing cool sci-fi things. We also run Starfest, which is in the spring, and that's just a huge convention of all sorts of things, science fiction, and that's a lot of fun, and we're going to get into more details about that a little bit later.
Neat. So, before we get going with the different stuff that STAR does, Some of you may know this is the Vulcan IDIC. It stands for Infinite Diversity in Infinite Combinations. Sometimes we deal with some delicate material in STAR or some controversial material. And we go by the IDIC to remember that a lot of people come from a lot of different places. This is a college campus. We're coming from all over, and we have differing opinions. And this reminds us that we have to respect others' opinions and be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. Alrighty. It is still me. I'm over here. I know. Okay, and now it's committees.
All right, so as the first officer, one of the things that I'm responsible for is the wonderful committees. So the two that we have the most details on right now is PR committee, which is headed by our beautiful Alex Claypool. So what we do there, that's a fantastic first committee for people who want to get a little bit more involved with the club. That's where we make all the posters that you guys have seen hung up. We do, we write a little bit of the things for the social media, take a little bit of load off of our communications officer. And it's a very casual committee. We go in there, we hang out for a while. We'll talk about, whatever. We'll hang out, we'll make posters. There's a lot of creativity, the ideas just kind of thrown around. And it's a good way to get more involved with the club in a little bit smaller environment. It's how I got started. It's how John got started. And what is behind me? Oh yes! And we also run PR stunts like the Mega Zecutor here, which is for our Sci-fi and Pokemon. If you don't recognize this is the Golisano atrium. So it is extending from the top of the second floor, third floor stairwell, to most of the way down to the second floor stairwell, and even a little bit past it. Yeah. Did I not say atrium?
You did.
Oh, okay. The atrium.
You said atrium.
So,
Atrium.
yes, atrium. But yes, it was a giant Mega Zecutor, and this stunt was brainstormed in our PR committee, and so, if you just have crazy zany ideas, they're actually perfect for PR because crazy zany things get you noticed. So if you're interested in that, that is Wednesdays from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. starting next week. Most likely in somewhere in this building. And then also we have the barbecue committee. I mentioned that briefly, where we're all just going to go out, we're going to go grilling. That needs a good amount of planning actually to run on-campus events. So if you want to give us a hand with that, we are meeting this Saturday from 2 to 4 in 2470.
2740.
2740. Yes, I can reading. My job. I do.
And 2740 is through this wall. And then through a door.
Please go around the wall and through the door.
If you want.
Oh dear.
Our committee has done is that we started making fun films. This is one of them. Oh, heck.
There's no sound.
Oh,
It's a silence.
darn.
Turn on closed captioning! Yes, that's right. All of our PR short films feature full closed captioning. No, actually handwritten.
It takes quite a bit of work.
Yes, it does. Unfortunately, we do not have the closed captioning for our recorded live streams of every mission that we run. But if you're really passionate about that, you can get involved in the PR committee and you can make that a reality.
Oh, geez. Oh, that says mute, and now it doesn't.
Oh, wow. That'll fix it.
Oh, thank goodness. That's the art committee. Okay.
So we as a private club we like to collaborate with other projects. And have everything from GS, ROI, so a lot of these are organizers outside culture generally on campus. So if you want to be a part of like the inside, you're the top percent kids. This is absolutely your portable people to be very, very happy. So yeah, and the way that we do these collabs is not only in writing, but sometimes we will visit these clubs such as next Monday, and we're going to our way. We start on Tuesday.
Well, yeah, to be fair, you guys didn't say September 1st was a Tuesday. Also, I gotta mention that was the correction email that they messed up.
It's the beginning of the year, we're getting stuff together.
Oh, yes, we're getting on our feet, but we've hit the ground running. But yeah, so we will visit these other clubs. Sometimes these clubs will come and visit us. We always bring an element of sci-fi wherever they go, and they bring a piece of them whenever they come to us.
Cool. And sometimes those clubs run big events.
Yes, yes, they do. So the
Extended break.
okay, so the first event is Nerdocalypse. That is a big nerd get together where a lot of the nerd clubs all get together and have a fun time. We do things, many things.
We play games, sometimes there are screenings. It's a really wonderful time. We bring all the nerds together and
They mingle.
yes!
And dang, do they mingle.
Yes.
Next is Snowfest. Snowfest is cosplay troops convention. It happens in the winter.
Yep, it's a cosplay convention. It's really wonderful. If you're into cosplay, you don't want to miss it. It's really cool.
Rudicon, that is Orwag's convention. They do board gaming things. It's a lot of fun, I've heard. I've personally never done, but I planned it this year.
Yes, you do.
Starfest, that's our sci-fi convention. We'll get into that later. It's a big deal. Torcon's Anime Clubs convention. That's a really big deal. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're usually there running Artemis, which we'll get to more later. And then Imaginary Teams, we're there as well. This year we did Circular Gallifreyan, which was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
Lots of circles, lots of learning.
People love circles and learning.
Yes.
Top two.
You guys are planning for this year?
Not yet. If you have any, or if anyone has any fun sci-fi activities, let us know, because we love fun sci-fi.
We need ideas. I mean,
We have ideas. All right, and as Julio mentioned before, we have our own convention. It's called Starfest. The Starfest last semester was steampunk themed, which was really cool. Yeah, it was really cool. But we are like a pretty regular convention. We have panels, we have vendors. We did some screenings. We screened Star Trek Continues? Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that confused with Beyond because it keeps going, but Beyond isn't the same movie that I have seen.
yeah, gamer.
Yep, and this year's Starfest is going to be March 3rd, and it's going to be like a vintage superhero themed. Think like the bright like BAM, POW signs, stuff like that. It's going to be really fun. We're going to start planning for that hopefully either later this month or next month, because it is a large undertaking.
And there will be a committee for that, for anyone who's interested to join at their own free will.
They're gonna be a SOP Animalist Batman costume?
Hopefully, you never know. Something that we do at a lot of the big events that we go to, including Starfest, we run it there, is Artemis.
Artemis. As it says in the subtitle, it is a spaceship bridge simulator. So think Star Trek, but you.
Star Trek, but you.
Is that Artemis with an E or Artemis with a 3?
An E. So this is potentially what it looks like. It's fun. This is us at Rubicon playing it. It is a lot of fun. I enjoy it very much. We can all get together and play it. We run it at everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Everything.
Constantly.
It's really fun. Also, it's pretty easy to pick up. If you don't have experience playing Artemis before, that's okay. It's really fun to just pick it up, and we will teach you. We won't throw you to the wolves or the space dragons.
It generally takes reading a single
Space
sheet of paper.
dragons.
Yeah,
We might have to throw you to the
Oh,
space
no,
list.
not
So
yet.
I'm sorry.
Hello, ground.
So some of you might have heard or not, but basically we do things outside of this area of RIT called away missions. Basically we go to movie outings usually. So we've gone to Star Wars.
It's behind you.
There's a
Oh
lot.
yeah, Lego Batman movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Wars. And then we're also gonna be going to the Star Wars again.
Star Wars every year. Star Wars every year.
We're also gonna be going to Thor Ragnarok.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any plans to go to Ready Player One next year?
We're not sure yet, but if you want to bring that up at our bridge crew meetings, we'll definitely take it under consideration. So if any of you guys have any movies that you know are coming out and you want us as a group to go see it, mention it to us. We'll see if we can work it out or not.
You have one more question? Yeah. Hopefully, we are going to start working on the PR materials for that soon, but that is a definite.
And yeah, a lot of like movies that have, it's like someone just brought it up on Slack, which they're gonna talk about soon, or on the Facebook group, and just says like, hey, this movie's coming out. And if enough people upvote it, then Richard's like, oh man, people want to see that.
Another thing too is that we sort of provide transportation. We offer carpooling basically. So we have all of our wonderful volunteers come in with their cars and we drive you to the movies and we drive you back. So
And we also pick up your tickets for you.
yes.
So yeah, you give us some money, we bring you back a ticket on the night of the movie and a ride there and back.
That's nice for opening weekends because that's hectic. Yeah.
On average, how much, like what theater do you go to?
We usually go to Regal Henrietta. Those tickets are around $10.
Usually.
Yeah, depending on the movies.
Is there like any kind of like military student discounts?
I think Regal Henrietta does military discounts. I don't know if they do student discounts. Yeah.
They do student discounts.
They do
Cool.
student discounts, yeah.
And that is,
If you don't go there, sometimes you go to Tinseltown.
That's a question for Regal Henrietta. I'm sorry.
So now it's social media, guys, where you'll find us all over the interwebs.
We're everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Facebook, Twitter, Slack. You should definitely join the Slack if you want to just like talk to us whenever. We're always on. We have channels where you can talk about Star Wars, Star Trek, Rick and Morty, gaming, basically, and yes, Zach.
Man, what is Slack?
Slack is, what's a good question? How do I describe it? It's basically, it's a messenger program where you're able to create channels based on specific interests to talk about those things.
Sounds like.
It's similar to Discord, yes.
That's what Discord is based on, basically.
Okay. Yeah, but we also do a good amount of our committee planning there, like figuring out what times are best to get together, giving quick little shout outs of, hey, did you guys print this poster? But it's a good tool for us to use both for working club stuff and also fun club stuff.
We also have our own website.
There.
Well, there you can see all of our missions, all of our members if they choose to be listed, and generally just lots of useful information. Yeah.
Cool.
That's everything.
So this is what we have about us as a club. Now we are going to start getting into the missions we ran last year. They were a lot of fun, and we think you'd like to hear about them. Cool. Claire, you are,
Yep, you have up first.
I will do the clicking.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so cyborgs. What are they? You think most people would know, but you'd be surprised. So cyborg stands for cybernetic organisms. And you say you'd be surprised because, as shown in Dragon Ball Z, we have Android 17 and 18. They are not in fact androids, they are in fact cyborgs because they are humans who have been modified with technology, not humans.
The only been robots.
No, they haven't. They are people. They went into this later in some other arcs, but they are not in fact androids.
They are modified at a cellular level.
Yes, but they were in fact human at one point, completely human. So a big question that we started talking about is how much technology does a person have to have in order to make them a cyborg? So we've got literal cyborg here. He is more than half robot. But what about people like Tony Stark, who has just the arc reactor? Would he be considered a cyborg? I would say yes. Some people would say no. Yes.
What about me? I have contact lenses.
Yes, that's true. That is a technology that was recently created in order to better our vision. So would that consider us cyborgs? Maybe. We don't really know. The definition is really loose, and you just sort of eyeball it. Get it? I get a nickel ready. So yeah, you just sort of you take a look and you think, is this person a cyborg? Yes, no, and then it's just basically up to you whether you think so or not. So a couple of other things that you might want to consider as enhancements are contacts, glasses, hearing aids, or even your phone. Some generation might argue that we are permanently attached to it. Another question we asked was, what part of yourself do you have to change in order to alter your humanity? So that was more of a philosophical question, in Star Wars, we have Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader. For those of you who didn't know, I'm very sorry. Spoiler! So some people might say that by becoming a cyborg, you lose a part of your humanity. And in fiction, usually that's pretty true. By gaining some sort of cybernetic enhancement, it usually represents within the story them losing their humanity. You can see that in we'll talk about the Winter Soldier. He lost his arm and all of a sudden he's a murderous soldier who kills everyone. Yes.
Well, didn't he also brainwash repeatedly?
He was, but
The arm wasn't like that.
no. He was brainwashed repeatedly by Russia and then Hydra, but
Can you wrap it?
okay, I'll wrap it up. Basically, even though he was brainwashed, the fact that he lost his arm is a really big indication that he's no longer who he was before and he has lost his humanity, and that's why it's a big thing. Same thing with Darth Vader. Okay, now I'm going to talk about cyborgs in real life. Some of you might have heard about biohacking, those people who put chips underneath their skin. There's even now a company that is asking for their employees to put the chips under the skin in order to get into their buildings and all of their data. And what is the future of cyborgs? Are we going to become cyborgs that we see in fiction soon?
All right, and you're also the next one.
Again, me again. Now we're going to talk about Overwatch. So raise your hand if you know or play Overwatch. What, you nerds? So it's really easy to see how Overwatch falls into sci-fi. We've got our Omnics, mostly just the Omnics, and then all sorts of we have Australia with all of the junkers and how they basically are in the middle of the nuclear fallout. And I didn't really prepare for this one, guys, I'm sorry. We also see within their abilities. So for example, Mercy is able to revive people despite being dead with technology. What?
Nanomachine, son.
You know, hand wavy sciencey things as we all know from Overwatch.
Magic.
Yeah, literally. As like, I'm a big Marvel person, so there's going to be a lot of Marvel references. Was it sufficient? Any sufficient?
Any sufficiently advanced magic.
Thank you. So we also have like in the recent May short, we saw how May used hand wavy science to create the ice ray beam things. We have gorillas on the moon. See in Winston. We haven't seen the other gorillas yet, but we've sort of been like implied that we're going to fight the gorillas at some point because they're still out there, I think. Yeah. And then sort of during the Overwatch mission, we just went over like, within the Overwatch universe, you have a lot of basically people with cybernetic enhancements, like Genji, McCree, Lucio? No, that's not confirmed. Basically, a lot of people have a lot of Symmetra, yes. Have a lot of cybernetic parts. It seems to be at this point that, yes. And sort of, we're keeping Overwatch here.
But what about the TF2 engineer?
Yeah. Yeah. And then we've got mechas in the form of Diva, literal mecha. And then we sort of talked about in the theory how gameplay-wise the story doesn't quite match up to the in like the comics and stuff. I'm just gonna end it there because I think I'm way over time. Sorry.
All right, so I ran a mission last year called Outdated Sci-Fi. I talked about, so you know how in some sci-fi they talk about the far off future of like 2004? We talked about that. So I ended up starting with like the way back sci-fi. I started with War of the Worlds, which was written, well, it was completed in 1897 and it was supposed to take place in 1899. Oh, that's not a hand. So it's kind of neat because War of the Worlds was supposed to be kind of like, so you know how in 1999 people were like, oh geez, Y2K, world's gonna end. That's not good. This is sort of the same kind of idea. It's gonna be year 1900 and what's gonna happen? Aliens. But they didn't, so that's cool because we live. And then we talked a little bit about 1984 and Fahrenheit 451. Those were written in 1949 and 1953 respectively. 1984 obviously takes place in 1984. Fahrenheit 451 is supposed to take place somewhere after the 1960s. It's not really clear, but it's kind of neat because the big dystopias in both of those sort of reflect the fears that people were having around the times that they were written. So when these two books were written, it was the First World War had ended, the Cold War had started, and people are concerned about
Second World War.
Second World War, thank you. I'm talking fast. They're concerned about communism. They're concerned about censorship because that's really scary. They're concerned about family values and maintaining that and what lengths we will go to maintain normality. And nukes. People are scared of nukes. People are pretty consistently scared of nukes. So if we jump forward to more recent stuff, we got Back to the Future Part 2, something, something, where's my hoverboard? Something, something, where is my hoverboard? I'm supposed to get one 2 years ago. We also have the future that hasn't happened yet that's in sci-fi that, hey, it might happen. The Jetsons, which was written in the 60s, is supposed to take place in 2062. We can do it. We might get there. But also, Meet the Robinsons. Who remembers Meet the Robinsons? That was really good.
I like it.
I love that movie. But that movie came out in 2007, and that future is supposed to be 2037. And I really hope we can get there, guys. It's a really beautiful movie. They travel by bubble and tube. That's so cool. So in conclusion, when sci-fis portray futures, they usually show the values of the time, whether good or bad. They show what we're afraid of and what we're hopeful for. We have anthologies next. Oh, no.
All right. Do not adjust your picture. Actually, Ava, can you adjust the picture?
I can. Oh, I did.
Okay, cool. So, sci-fi anthologies was, as named just about, we started by talking about the anthology format, which can be summarized as fiction free from the burdens of canon. So an upside of the anthology format is you're not bound to specific characters or settings. They change every episode. The only continuity, if any, tends to be recurring themes over a series, and sometimes a recurring narrator type character like Rod Serling, for those of you who know Twilight Zone. The downside is there aren't characters for the audience to get attached to, and the lack of multi-episode arcs means sometimes pacing kind of just doesn't. You end up with plot lines that get wrapped up hastily at the end, or characters who need to like change their thoughts way more quickly than realistic to make the story move along. We talk about how some of the older sci-fi anthologies were radio shows back around like the 30s with series like Mystery House, and then eventually moved on to the more well-known ones like The Outer Limits and The Twilight Zone, and finally to some of the most recent ones like Black Mirror. If anyone's seen that, it's on Netflix now. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it.
It's spooky.
And we ended up with a look at other series that share the advantages of the anthology format with sci-fi anthologies, like anthology comics, fantasy anthologies, like Goosebumps is a popular series I know I read when I was younger. And then also like does sketch comedy technically count as an anthology series? And then we also left people with some interesting questions posed by series like Twilight Zone and Black Mirror, like when AR and AI are ubiquitous, how do we decide what counts as real? If you could, would you block someone in real life the way you block someone on Facebook? Yes. Would you allow a device to back up your memories so you could replay them if there's a risk that someone else might get access to those? And would you let a computer program recreate you from your social media activity? After you die, is that better or worse? Good things to think about.
Wonderful. Next we have Spencer.
Alright. I want to not looking forward, but I actually needed this.
Don't trip. There's words.
I can see through it.
Oh, cool.
All right, so I ran Defense of the Earth, and it was coming off of the high that was One Punch Man. And we discussed things that could kill humanity. And we also rated them based on how One Punch Man did it. And I actually can't hear myself in this. I can't hear myself in this helmet.
Oh.
Yes, please. Just make it stare at them kind of creepily.
Okay.
But yeah, so we made use of the One Punch Man threat assessment levels, which are Tiger, endangering the lives of a great number of people; Demon, threatening a whole city or infrastructure; Dragon, a threat that endangers multiple cities; and then God, where everything dies. Oh my God, why is this even here?
One Punch Man.
Yeah, that's from One Punch Man. There's 4 different categories, ranging from local hero status to, oh my God, we need something that can kill a literal planet.
And speaking of which, when are they coming out with season 2?
Yeah, that's fall season. In maybe October, maybe 2018. I'm not sure right now, but that's not what we're focusing on right now. And we also talked about threat containment and what you usually need to go up against that. For example, some of the Tiger level threats we talked about alien attacks, like XCOM level. Has anybody here played XCOM 2? There we go.
expansion just came out today.
Yes, I know, and I want to go play it.
What about, and what about zombie apocalypse? You know, like World War Z.
That's not a tiger level threat. That's more an extinction level threat, like God or demon level, because it threatens multiple cities. Moving on from that, because I'm not going to talk about continue talking about tiger level threats because we have 1 minute. Okay. Demon, you have, zombie attacks, like for example, Killing Floor 1 and 2. The alien attack tier 2, which is a full-on invasion, to the point where they're almost destroying New York, and they decide to nuke it for some reason, because apparently it's better to nuke New York than let the aliens have it. And then you have dragon level threats. For every single tier, there is an alien attack, but it's bigger based on how Hollywood wants it.
But when the sunburger explodes, all stars have to go away, some die sometimes, don't they?
Well, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Well, let's talk about defensively, or made me think of several ways the world could end.
Well, we're talking more about like direct threats while we're all still here, not
what
the heat
dinosaurs
of the
came
universe.
back?
Oh, I've seen
What about
Jurassic Park. We get eaten.
Yeah, so for example, in the dragon level threat, we had the Sea King from One Punch Man, the Kaiju in Pacific Rim. Who's watched that?
Woo!
Everybody excited for the next one?
Yes.
Yes.
And and also in the same tier we had.
You get time.
The conclusion of that was that for some reason in science fiction we have a lot of examples of things that will destroy planet. For example, Warhammer 40K, we have the Exterminatus, which will destroy any planet with a single button.
Oh wait, what about the second coming of Christ, you know?
I mean, you can ask him later. He's leaving for comedic value. Okay, now Zachary's going to explain PowerPoint karaoke. It is the fun thing that we do.
Okay, so this is a lot of fun. It's a great sort of an improv game, sort of a preparation for your class presentations if you want to think about it that way. Basically, the idea is you come up as an expert on a topic, and then when you get up, you find out what is that topic you are an expert on. And in the weeks leading up to our PowerPoint karaoke mission, karaoke mission, anyone has the opportunity to submit a slide deck, and then anyone on the day of the mission who wants to come up to present can come up to present, and you will be given a random slide deck. And you are now an expert on that topic. To give a brief demonstration of what this is like, can we get Cameron up here?
Cameron, Julio's got something for you.
Oh, that's new. All right, so Cameron, you are now an expert on.
Yes, an expert on PowerPoint karaoke.
Can we go forward slide?
You're not an expert on that, Cameron. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, I am, but I'm also an expert on how to make good presentations. Now, listen, everybody listen up, right? I have been doing presentations my entire life, especially these past 2 years at STAR, being in the prominent position that I am. I have to present a lot, and it helps to know a couple tricks of the trade that I'm going to help you guys out with today. So please advance. So the first thing you have to know when you make a good presentation is to put words on the thing. And make sure that you use animations, right? You want to keep your audience engaged, you want to keep your audience interested. And the way to do that is to have the words fly all over the place. Because nobody's reading it anyway, so you might as well give them something pretty to look at. All right, so you got to remember that it's not a PowerPoint, but it is unless it has at least one animation. And it's actually a scale multiplier. This one had 4 animations, which means it's 4 times better than the average PowerPoint from one slide alone. 5, 6, 7. I'm on a roll. 8, 9, 10. We're just getting into the exponential range at this point. So the next important tip I have to share with you all today is typography matters. So you want to use lots of fonts. It makes things more interesting. That's it. All right. Remember, caps lowercase because it's wavy and cool. And it improves readability and quotes, notice, okay, I want to point out something subtle here. These quotes are age traditional. They're facing the backwards direction that your audience would expect. This draws double attention. Also, what is a punctuation? Let's continue. So this is the end of the demo that I have for you today. But to continue, you can just give me $100 for more hearts, or get the rest of this presentation season pass DLC from Star's PowerPoint karaoke later this year. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Oh, you have a question.
Sound effects, because those are also essential.
Those are very difficult to do in Google Slides. It makes things blow up.
Oh no.
Also
You need your own
putting GIFs in Google Slides makes the computer overheat.
Terrifying.
Yes, sometimes people do their own sound effects, and it's wonderful.
Yes, so this is the general layout of how our PowerPoint karaoke works. Someone just goes up and improvs for however long the presentation is. And it's really fun to try to screw over the person who's presenting and try to watch them play it off. It's great stuff.
Michael Cooper? Oh, there you are.
I already asked this.
All right, so 2 semesters ago, I did a presentation on science fiction architecture. Can anyone tell me what this is? What game?
Half-Life 4.
Yeah, So, an important part of understanding how architecture works in science fiction is to understand how architecture can tell the history of this world. So, what does this image tell us about the world of Half-Life 2? Well, for one, it actually is Earth, because we see these buildings here are of a Eastern European design. This is being based on, I believe, the city of Odessa, actually. Yet, at the same time, we have these rather inhuman-looking architectures being grafted on physically. The big Combine Citadel here seemingly dropped there through some giant portal in the sky that just left it and dropped it onto the world. Does anyone else see anything else interesting about this architecture? Yeah.
It's very geometric as opposed to the more natural looking buildings or curved buildings.
Yeah, so the alien race in Half-Life 2 that invaded the Earth from another dimension, they don't care about human feelings. So they just use any designs they want. They have angular designs. They need someone to remind them to place railings onto stuff.
I was about to say they have railings, and I'm so happy.
Actually, railings are a human invention. A classic part of the Combine is that they take the alien race's technology, sort of morph it. So the Combine created trains, sort of based on humans, but their own Combine version of trains. This is the Combine version of a bridge, and the Combine version of what railings might look like.
Cool.
Anything else we could deduce from this image?
You wonder.
So it actually opens.
The walls all look really flat, like that building to the left there, the banister is kind of like painted on.
That's still the year was 2004, and this was next gen for the time. Anything else?
Yes, cables going up to the big tower.
Actually, these cables are going up to. Where are these cables going up? Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a giant generator in the tower, and that might be the only big generator in the area because the Combine blew up the other human generators.
Oh, goodness.
I think that's all I have time for.
Yep.
Oh no.
Welcome. And as we've all just experienced, this man came here through a wormhole. So back then, we looked into popular sci-fi to see what is the deal with the wormholes in each different franchise. And this came as an idea as I had just finished watching all of Stargate SG-1, and I wanted to help bring wormholes back into the fray of sci-fi. Back then, we classified three different we classified wormholes into. Sorry, I'm trying to hold. Controlled wormhole travel, which is Stargate, or the Rainbow Bridge from the Bifrost in Thor, for example, is a wormhole. And other things. I'm sorry. Today I am very bad at words. Does anybody know of a popular wormhole in science fiction? Worm instead of
It's the wormhole from the pilot episode of The Mighty Ducks, the 90s kid. Which is
someone else.
very
that's an accidental wormhole. Chris. That's true. That is a wormhole. Deep Space Nine. Yes, the wormhole that had aliens that were prophets for some reason. I don't know. Let's go. You.
Farscape.
Farscape.
Yikes.
I still need to watch all of that.
Farscape.
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes.
Oh, you're talking about the third movie where they go back in time and then the apes are back to.
Whoa, what?
It gets weird. Okay, so the original Planet of the Apes gets really weird. John.
The four takes you back to the beginning of the game in No Man's Sky.
That's a thing. That's not Wait, so what you're saying is that in No Man's Sky, the sky was the friends we made along the way.
Except there's no friends because there's no multiplayer.
Doctor Who's Time Vortex.
It's kind of weird, but it does bend space and time. Kind of weird. Let's go with. You know one. You know one.
Avengers. Tony Stark goes through the wormhole at the end. And
Your other favorite franchise.
There's one in Deep Space Nine. Is it Rick and Morty?
Rick and Morty.
Is that what you're looking for? The Reach, yeah.
Better be a good one.
Another Stargate from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Other Stargate? Are you talking about the monolith?
Yeah, the monolith. That makes a wormhole.
The monolith makes a wormhole?
Yes.
As you can see, they're really, really prevalent, and each of them can be classified into controlled wormhole travel, accidental wormholes, or third-party controlled. For example, in Pacific Rim, Taylor. Yeah, they control the wormhole in the ocean. All right. And wait, is the Geller field in Warhammer 40K technically a wormhole?
No.
No. Okay. Any more? Or can in the back.
And Star Wars tells me to go back to the 80s and say Wills.
Saying that every single time travel movie is now a wormhole movie, right? Oh, hang on. We have way too many people. You. Interstellar? Yeah.
But in Star Trek, there is I think it's the bar there wormhole. It's stable on one side, but.
Oh yeah, that's one of the menu. Oh, I'm done.
Okay.
Somebody shot a wormhole as I was leaving.
Rick and Morty.
All right, now we have Cameron back up here to talk about one of our other missions. Nothing to point at.
Pokemon. No, okay. So yeah, we ran this mission. A lot of times we'll run special missions or particular missions according to current events. For example, we ran this one last year, right around the release of Pokemon Sun and Moon. So I just ran a quick mission where I talked about a couple of different Pokemon that are specifically influenced by certain aspects of sci-fi, like Porygon and the entire Porygon line, Genesect, Magnezone, and just a couple of other ones that, as you dig through the Pokedex entries, have are either man-made or like aliens, for example. I'll use like Eglian, and just Pokemon that really personified certain sci-fi elements to it. This was also the mission where we ran the beautiful Mega Executor PR7.
Come on.
So although he was not although he isn't sci-fi, we still love him very much here at this club. Yeah, it was a quick mission. It was a lot of fun. There was some good just Pokemon-based discussion.
Awesome. Next we have Ryan Morganlander.
Can I have that?
Hi, today on the Star Podcast, we're going to be talking about a lot of things, mostly our favorite podcast. But first, a word from our sponsors, Casper Mattresses. Hi, I'm Ryan. As Ava said earlier, I'm the president of RWAG, which is the tabletop board gaming club, and we're going to be hosting Star, teaching Star Realms. It's very thematic. That's Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 11 a.m. 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. I'm very tired.
I'm gonna make the time commitment.
6 p.m. to 11 p.m. and then they kick us out. Otherwise, it would be 11 a.m. Anyway, so I only have like a minute and a half now. So going back to talking about actually anthologies and how they arose from radio shows, podcasts, modern day podcasts owe a lot to old timey radio shows. So things like Thrilling Adventure Hour are just directly right out of it. Whereas I would compare the other shows featured here, like The Wires, to anthologies. I would compare them to old-timey radio shows in the same way we compare television shows to what Netflix has done to television. By giving you a single place to absorb all the content at your leisure, it allows people to create more cohesive storylines. So my personal favorites are ones that like really take advantage of the medium. Within the Wires and Limetown, the podcasts both exist within the universe that they create in the podcast, which is super cool. I highly recommend them. Wolf 359 is a space opera which is heart-wrenching and wonderful and funny, and I love it so much. It's ending in December, so catch up. The Black Tapes is today's the 28th, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's spooky.
The Black Tapes, the next and final season is coming out in 2 days, and I'm super excited about that. The Black Tapes is more of a horror podcast. The Black Tapes is a series of tapes. Limetown is, oh god, it's
really cool.
It's super cool.
And everything is spoilers.
I would compare it to like a dark horror dystopian version of Eureka, if anyone liked that show. And I would compare the Black Tapes to the X-Files, but more spooky mysticism than Aliens. And is that my time? Well, it's my time now. I'm done.
Wait, I have a question.
Oh.
I'm curious, how frequently do you enjoy listening to your books from Audible?
See, the thing is,
I'm eating the meal you make for Blue Apron.
I make so many websites from Squarespace.
Okay, Zachary and Taylor, you guys are next. All right, Greg, I think this is time.
We're going to beat up the corners.
You ready?
Yeah.
Yay! Okay, so last year was the Star Trek 50th anniversary, so we had an entire mission that was just talking about Star Trek. We did a recap of all the different missions, and we all the different series of Star Trek, and we talked about some of the overarching themes. First of all, we talked about the Roddenberry future. It's got a philosophy of people bettering themselves. It's got a philosophy of celebrating diversity, which we saw earlier before the missions presentation with the Vulcan IDIC. And it also features a post-scarcity economy. So starting with the original series, a long, long time ago in a long time ago in 1967, Kirk and Spock in the 23rd century in 1967, and their entire crew gallivant across the universe, meeting aliens and introducing people to the Star Trek universe. After that, there was the animated series, which was just as good, but ran on a significantly lower budget. Followed by the TOS
Just as good.
They're just as good. Followed by the TOS movies, in which you learn what God means with a starship, and you learn that they are not the hell your whales.
All right. So then, after Star Trek, TOS pioneered this whole world where diversity is a thing, and we can have interracial kissing. TNG was like, what's this new bald guy doing on the Enterprise? TNG took us into the 24th century, where a lot of the political disputes of TOS were things of the past, and we're dealing with like the aftermath of that, and new alien races, and new social issues that are also still relevant to the 80s and 90s, and actually a lot of them are still relevant today. There are things we are arguing today that Star Trek figured out 20 years ago. Anyway, then we after TNG, it was so big that they made not one but 2 more series. Forms less drastically. Deep Space Nine dealt more with political issues. Political ramifications of things introduced in TNG, where, as Voyager said, screw that politics, let's go to the other side of the galaxy, where the Roddenberry future is less in effect. Enterprise said, let's go back and look at the beginnings of the Federation and how humans first started out as a spacefaring race. And honestly, like, it gets a lot of hate for the later stuff, but the beginning was actually pretty good. And then...
More recently, we have had the Kelvinverse, which is an AU of TOS, which also has Kirk as Chris Pine, and Spock as Zachary Quinto, and was basically J.J. Abrams' demo reel for Star Wars.
And then finally, a quick note, we, when this mission happened, we knew very little about Star Trek Discovery, but we're definitely going to be chatting about that on the Star Trek in Slack channel, shout out to Slack, as the release date, September 24th, approaches.
Oh. Hopefully it doesn't suck.
Hopefully. Otherwise, we'll have as much salt as we do about the Universe.
All right, and now we like Star Trek here, like a bunch. I'm going to turn on the captions this time, though. We made more fun videos. These, I just need to turn on the captions. Yes. Find some sort of shelter.
When is it fun?
We do fun things. Oh, yes? Yes. There's more to that series. We talk about where we are stuck. And now Star Wars. That's Star Wars. He's right there.
So yeah, last year this movie from a very small franchise, probably heard of Star Wars, and we had a mission after it came out where we discussed our thoughts on the movie and how it affected canon with little things such as the rebellion's a lot darker than we've ever seen before in Star Wars movies, and how yes.
It's also good to remember that that's called Wisdom Pattern inside out.
Yep. And we also discussed what movies we thought would be future spin-off movies. We knew Han Solo at the time, and when we didn't know what the third one would be, we now know that it's probably going to be Obi-Wan, and there's now a rumor floating around that it's also going to be a Jabba the Hutt movie. I'm not kidding about that. I'm legitimately not. Listen, at the time I did this mission, we had every character you could think of in the Star Wars having a spin-off movie, including Aunt Beru spin-off movie. so we narrowed it down. I'm probably going to do an episode 8 retrospective next semester when that comes out. I obviously can't do one now because I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, Star Wars is a thing.
Star Wars.
Yeah. Star Wars.
Yes. So last year I ran a mission about sci-fi westerns because westerns are kind of a defined genre in the way that people kind of think of sci-fi. We started by talking about what exactly is a western. We talk about the conventions of the genre, like the cinematography and so on, as well as some of the themes, like the struggle between good and evil and heroicism and the danger of the unknown and the balance of nature. We went on to talk about some of the things that sci-fi and westerns have in common. They have very similar starts. Westerns in dime novels in the late 18th century, I think. And of course, pulp novels for sci-fi in the 20s. We also talk about how they were both criticized as escapism, as well as the fact that they are both often platforms to use as analogies for current events Like sci-fi often addresses issues of civil rights or environmentalism or all the things, technology that sci-fi does, or Westerns did things like the Great Depression and the American work ethic and McCarthyism. After that, we talk about all of our favorite sci-fi Westerns. Star Wars has the same setting as a Western. It has a cowboy in it, his name is Han Solo, and it's got that theme of the struggle between light and dark without really thinking about all the nuances of it until you look at the prequels, which are bad. Star Trek takes the Western themes of the final frontier, which talks about manifest destiny and what it's like to be a pioneer. Then we talk about really, really sci-fi Westerns, like Firefly, which is just a Western. It's just Western space. It's got all the Western characters. It is out for not normal defenses, like just and we talk about the ratios, parts and bottom, arts, keys, we talk about Westworld. We had a good deep conversation about that and all of the moral things that have to do with it. And we also mentioned all of our favorite things. Back to the Future 3, certain episodes of Doctor Who, Trigun, Cowboy Bebop, Cowboys and Aliens, and the Wild Wild West. And it was a good time. I have never seen a Western movie. That wasn't
Do you have any conversations about characters who are cowboys, but in a sci-fi context, like McCree from Overwatch, or
yeah, I mentioned McCree. Yeah, I did mention McCree at the time. Yeah. Western. Fashion.
So, impact in sci-fi, I sort of talked about color theory and sort of how, in all fiction, people apply different colors to different characters to, by first glance, you're able to tell what sort of character they'll be. So, for example, this guy over here, you all, of course, know that he is the most upstanding fellow that I've ever met. That's hell. Yeah. So red and, of course, black are typically very dark colors that indicate evil, anger, all those sorts of things. And in fiction, of course, we have the antithesis of white. We see Skywalker wear that color at the end of Yes. Okay. I can't remember all the titles. But we also see in Rogue One, the Kernan, he also wears a very white suit and then sort of acts as the opposite of that, where you're able to tell that despite his fact of wearing a very clean, very sterile white suit, he is not in fact a good guy based on the whole sterility, because he tries to make himself look untouchable, basically. Then we talked about superhero costumes. Why? Why do they wear their underwear on the outside? Well, like Ava mentioned before in her sort of like the retro sci-fi things, it's all a product of the time. So at the time, they thought it looked really manly, like those old-timey old-timey strongmen, they wore just their undies. So by that, they had Superman wear his undies, but also somehow a suit. And of course now with the new superhero movies, we see a lot of leather because they're trying to make it all really gritty and dark, but still trying to hold true to the origins. Then we talked about Star Trek. So Star Trek, of course, tries to work itself away from modern conventions. So we see guys in skirts and dresses and basically wearing whatever the fuck they want to wear because it's Star Trek and it's the future and who cares what you look like? You're off shooting aliens and kissing girls and kissing guys and whatever. Stuff. Space. Who cares because you're in space? Yeah. No. Okay. Then we talked about a bit about makeup and, like, of course, again, going back to Star Wars, how makeup is able to portray a person and their personality really well before they even have a speaking role.
Rest in peace, Davis Beard.
We talked about a bit of steampunk, and we talked about the retro sci-fi. Why were there so many cones and so much holographic material? And then we talked about dystopian and sort of a lot of buckles and stuff. And then we talked about Firefly. Somehow they still look like cowboys while being in space.
Space cowboys.
Okay, that's it.
So for the past couple years, I've done the Valentine's Day missions in February. So we talked about some sci-fi couples in a Thunderdome. Thunderdome is a thing that Star does every so often where we take our favorite characters and we pit them against each other to the death. Or rather this time to the whichever couple works together the best to achieve their goals. This is our reigning champion from last year, Garnet, from Steven Universe.
I represent Garnet, yes. Correct.
And I'm going to be taking somebody who has a really good ship that they want to argue against Garnet. And we're going to do a very quick Thunderdome right here. Here's what will happen. You will get 30 seconds to defend your couple as the best couple. Garnet will get 30 seconds to defend Garnet as the best couple. Then you will get 1 sentence to rebut. Garnet will get 1 sentence to rebut. And then everyone in the room will vote. Let's see if you can beat the reigning champions. Who's got a ship? Chris?
Sapphire?
That is Garnet!
I was going to argue that there's more texture than that.
We can talk about Steven Universe. Who's got a ship?
No one dares challenge me.
Don't make me fight my nose too much about Curtis. And anybody a ship from anything? Who do you can or ship? Skirt. A skirt. Are we gonna do this?
You can do it.
Okay. Yeah, you tell me when 30 seconds is up, okay?
It's about 58 because I'm hyped.
Okay.
All right.
Did we already do this last time? Okay. They're best friends. They love each other. They sacrifice things for each other.
They're just really cute. I really enjoy them a lot.
They play baseball once.
They did play
Oh,
baseball.
cute. Okay. All right. We're gonna take a vote. Yeah. All right. Hands for Spurg. Oh goodness. Yeah. Oh, you should do it.
I think he wins.
I think Spurg is the reigning champ just by hands right now. Okay. Garnet, hands. Yes, Spurg won. Congratulations,
If you want to listen to that, but in English, you can check out the Romance and Sci-Fi mission from a couple years ago on the webpage.
Taylor knows everything about Spurg.
Or you could ask me.
Like
Where?
I know nothing about Garnet.
Kyle knows some things about Garnet. Chris, you're up.
Fastest Online Travel is a mission I did last semester. My name is Chris. So the reason that we see so much Fastest Online Travel in sci-fi is because space is really, really big, and you have to get past, like, through it in order to have, like, plot happen. So for that, you need to go faster than light, because light has a set speed limit of about 300 million meters per second. And the speed of light exists because if there wasn't a speed of light, then all interactions would happen at a particular level simultaneously, and there would be no universe. That said, we spoke about a few of the methods through which faster than light travel is done in fiction. For example, cryogenic stasis. Cryogenic stasis. That one. That's when you put your character in a refrigerator, ship them off, and then wake up somewhere else. And it's like faster than light.
Refrigerator?
A fancy
More or less.
Number 2, generational shifts. That's when you have one set of characters leave the planet, and then a whole bunch of generations happen, and then their kids of the kids of the kids end up on the planet much later. It's not great when you want to stick to your own characters. Wormholes. I wouldn't have done this presentation if I had known that they had done the presentation about wormholes, but there you go. We know about wormholes. Hyperspace. It's like wormholes, except it's another universe. Warp drives, Alcubierre, Star Trek. It's when you make a bubble around yourself, and so you avoid physics. You hide from physics. Jump gates are like warp drives, except you have to set them up ahead of time. Reality warps is when you say, I don't care about physics. And then screen wipe is, of course, when you they're here and then they're there, and there's no explanation. So, yeah. Oh, okay, so there's 1 minute left, so I have to walk back to my seat very slowly.
Now, the person who ran this mission last year is not here today. His name is Joe Porcelli. He's a wonderful individual. He likes octopi, fish, and Disney. And Muppets. We're going to talk about Muppets a little bit. So, there's a lot of sci-fi in... Okay. There's a lot of sci-fi in Disney. Like, a lot of sci-fi. Even at the very beginning, there was...
Treasure Planet.
That's not the very beginning, but we're going to get to that because Treasure Planet's awesome. Yeah. There was Mickey's Mechanical Man, which was like a robot-y thing, which is neat. And if we move on a little bit, I didn't hear what you said, but I'm going to keep going. I'm sorry. Then you get to a little bit further in Disney history, the 1950s. You get 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. They start making the Tomorrowland Park in Disneyland, and you have the absent-minded professor. Then you have the Bronze Era. In the Bronze Era, that's after Walt Disney died. Disney was going through a lull because they were sad because Disney died. But also they made some really, really freaking weird sci-fi movies, such as The Cat from Outer Space in 1978. And it was weird and no one's heard of it because I assume it was bad. Apparently. They also made Tron in so this era was the Bronze Era. They made Tron in '82. And that sort of brought things back a little bit for Disney and sci-fi because people like Tron. You've heard of Tron. Yeah. That didn't die.
It's not aged well.
Oh, it's gone. Tertuin. So then we move on to the Renaissance era from 1989 to 99. There you get Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Toy Story. So you also had a mini mission where you explained the entire Pixar theory. I'm sorry, I don't have time. The Pixar theory is crazy, it's wonderful. That's where he talked about WALL-E, which is also sci-fi, and Monsters, Inc., which you can argue is sci-fi. And we don't have time for it, so we're going to keep going. Inspector Gadget came out in 1999. That's sci-fi. The post-Renaissance era. That's where we have Atlantis, Lilo and Stitch, and Treasure Planet. Also, Atlantis is amazing. Just so freaking good. So then we had our mini mission 2, where Joe explained to us that Muppets are in fact sci-fi. Gonzo's kind of like an alien sometimes. There's Muppet Labs. They do science, sort of. Muppet Babies does actual sci-fi crossovers with Star Trek, Star Wars, and the Jetsons. Pigs in Space, they're pigs in space. Also, Muppets is in the now erased Star Wars canon because when Luke Skywalker, well, Mark Hamill came to the Muppet Show, they went to the planet Coosbane, which is like a Muppety thing. But then Coosbane appeared in official Star Wars stuff, so Muppets sci-fi, guys. Then we get into, okay, Muppets sci-fi, we all agree, cool. Then we get into Sky High, 2005, which is amazing, I love that movie. Meet the Robinsons, which I already talked about a little bit. And then we have the Revival Era, which is 2009 to now, where you got, so Disney owns Marvel, Disney owns Star Wars, there's Wreck-It Ralph, there's Tomorrowland, Sci-Fi, Disney. That too. Oh, I'm out of time. There was a lot of issues. Next, this is our comms officer, John. He's here now. He's part of our e-board.
year, I did a mission on one of my favorite sci-fi series, which has a whole lot on its mind. This at all.
Spoilers, careful.
Yep. I talked in the mission in a very spoilery manner, which I will not go into today, about basically some of the ethical questions that Ender's Game poses, which it poses a lot of. Specifically, how those form the personalities of the main character Ender, and how he acts as a vehicle for asking further moral questions on how things can and how his actions develop his character in the future. Bean on how the actions of other people develop him into a spoiler. And most importantly, I got to gush about Peter, who's the best character ever. He's a bean and did nothing wrong. But more or less, Ender's Game comes down to some very specific moral questions. And I'm trying really hard to find things to talk about.
What's that?
But that's a bugger. That's an alien. It tried to kill everyone, but it didn't. It tried to kill everyone, but it didn't know what it was doing.
I-9.
Yeah.
You were asked, is that what they actually look like?
That's a fan fiction.
Maybe.
We had to use something for the posters.
Yeah. We had like 3 pictures and posters, and none of them looked very good. But yeah. It was a much cooler mission than I'm making it out to be, because I can't spoil it here, but I think I'm done right now.
Ruby sucked.
Oh yeah, I talked for like 20 minutes about that.
Power Ranger, Ryan!
Alright, so, hi, me again. I tried to organize a Star outing to go see the Power Rangers movie. There was no interest, so I just went alone. That's not true. That's not true. There were like 3 other people there. My girlfriend was not one of them. It's okay. So, we, at that time, we were speculating about what the movie would be like, things about their armor and the Megazords and how it related to the original series. The movie turned out to be, I'm off camera, the movie turned out to be way better than I was expecting, but not as good as I hoped. Surprisingly, it was more like Power Rangers Breakfast Club than literally anything else. Where the best part of the movie was how invested you got in the characters, as well as their portrayal of someone on the autistic spectrum, and actually first canonically gay superhero, surprisingly. And even though they didn't show her significant other, which is tragic, but that's okay. So Power Rangers has a really long history, like 20 some odd years now, and some of it's good and a lot of it's bad. But overall, what I found really, really interesting is the production over the course of the years and how each series follows the same tropes and sometimes kind of mentions the same canon without ever being really strong. And also the best Power Rangers series, almost unanimously, is the one that's basically Star Trek, the one that's basically Deep Space Nine, and the one that was a dark robot apocalypse that was based off of like Captain Planet. Also, there's how much time is it? Am I good? All right, cool. Also, there's one of the more recent seasons was Power Rangers Dino Charge, and it ended with them going back in time and stopping the dinosaurs from going extinct. Like they come back they stop the meteor because it was actually an alien, and then they show up to the present day and there was a T-Rex in the zoo, and then the next season they don't talk about it. I'm so angry. There are so many things. Dinosaurs have always been partnered with Power Rangers, and like that's a huge shift in the timeline. Nothing. Did you have a question?
Sorry, I can't hear you over the image of the Power Rangers being baked into a pizza.
Yes. What is widely considered to be one of the worst series was initially a parody series in Japan, and then it was turned into a series that was played straight, which did involve the Power Rangers getting baked into a giant pizza. And also the Power Rangers almost lost a sword fight because the Red Ranger was having a problem reading the manual. So I just met the producer and head story writer, the head writer for the first episode for the first season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Tony Oliver. He's super cool. And neat facts I learned. Originally, the series was going to be called Dino Raiders. The big floating head in the jar was going to be called Zoltar, and the giant robots were going to be called Zoids. They then found out after filming the first episode that I'm done. Okay. Zoltar was actually the fortune teller from Big. Zoids was about to be released, and Dino Rangers would not work for literally anything other than the first season. So they sat in the cafeteria and just like brainstormed all the key components of the series in like 10 minutes. Power Rangers.
Right, so I also did a mission looking at ethics in science fiction world in Star Wars, and for that, can anyone here be a Sith Lord really quick? I saw your hand go up first. Who here wants to be a Jedi? I saw your hand come up first, and I was looking at the left side of the room, so sorry people on the right side of the room. All right. So I'm just going to post some questions, and he's going to answer like a Sith Lord, and you're going to answer like a Jedi.
Switch sides.
All right.
Rotate the board.
A cat is stuck in a tree.
I go say that.
I leave it is weak.
All right. So a train is about to go through 5 people, but you can redirect the tracks. Sorry, I forgot to use words today. If you redirect the tracks, it will only kill 1 person, and this needs to be more sci-fi. It's a space train. What do you do?
I have to consult the council first.
Did I always value prudence over action, no matter what the circumstances? Simpler.
I ignore the people. I stop the space train with a show of force, because I am power Sith Lord.
Okay.
Tell everyone that you gave your power to the
Life means nothing to me.
All right. Democracy or monarchy?
Democracy. Oh, I need to be the ruler of everything, so monarchy.
Oh, so you're gonna have a son or a daughter? As in you're gonna die one day and you're gonna have an heir?
The apprentice has to kill me. Keyword is, well, he has to try to kill me. Keyword is try.
Is it ever okay to tell a lie?
He's a Jedi. No.
Is it ever okay to tell a lie?
Of course. Wait, sometimes. Only the Sith deal in absolutes.
Cool, because that statement is an absolute.
No.
1 minute.
Was it okay to lie to Luke about his parentage?
I mean, from a certain perspective, I wasn't lying at all.
Should the Jedi have lied to Luke about his parentage?
No, because that means he couldn't get a chance to be a Sith Lord.
As you see, we basically did that the whole time and also discussed on a more philosophical basis the roots of this philosophy, and yeah, that's what we did.
I just realized I'm wearing black and gray.
Oh, mostly blue.
Planning.
Alex, Froyo, you.
Yeah?
Talk about this.
I feel like I've done every mission ever. Yeah.
No, but you can talk about this if you want.
All right. What are the key defining aspects of a super soldier?
Strong.
Tall.
I said strong.
I said strong. Tall. I said tall. More words. People words. Okay, so we basically superhuman. Anything can be a super soldier, as long as you kind of stick a serum into it. Even a lanky CG Chris Evans. There are examples of super soldiers in almost everything. You could also call the Jaeger pilots in Pacific Rim, for example, super soldiers, because they do have to go through a sort of superhuman conditioning, which is also makes them meld their brains with each other to be able to pilot the Jaegers at all. Our mission just looked at every single example. Can anybody name a franchise that they think has a super soldier?
Power Rangers.
Now, which one are you talking about? The one where they come from the future and they have mutant powers, or are you talking? Go on.
So specifically, I was thinking of Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, where the Power Rangers were militarized, or Power Rangers RPM, where they're militarized and also actually like change their DNA.
Whoa. Metal Gear, all of them.
Nanomachines?
Nanomachines. Sun and unexplained electrical powers.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Sith and Jedi.
I was thinking more along the lines of engineered to be a soldier. You could call it controversy super soldiers in a way, because
Don't stick to the droids, yeah.
one bucket head is worth what? 1,000 of droids. Yeah.
The Birdie the Mighty franchise from Japan. It's pretty obscure.
What was it?
Birdie the Mighty, the franchise.
Oh, I don't remember that one. Right. Let's go with John.
Oh, Henderson. Yes, I guess having a super brain is technically a superpower.
It is genetically engineered.
Vincent.
Ultraman.
Yes. In the back. Yes.
Terminator.
Yeah. That's an android.
Gunbreak?
I don't know that one. Mass Effect? They do rebuild Shepard in like the second or third game.
Rocky IV, Ivan Drago.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Oh my god, I finally got the reference in Archer why Barry gets rebuilt as an android.
Warhammer 40K.
Yes, everything in that is a super soldier. Like, the support units for the super soldiers are super soldiers. Alright, one last one. I'm gonna go with Benoni.
Monster Hunter. Like literally they jack up like all the time. How else are they going to carry those big weapons? Tell me.
Big weapons.
We're done.
Super soldiers.
Oh,
Benoni, it's you.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Benoni. I'm there. Okay, cool. So, yeah, last year I got to talk. Man! I had no idea this was going to happen. But yeah, last year I got to talk for an hour about giant robots. It was totally fun. But more specifically, I got to talk about Mobile Suit Gundam and its long history throughout animation and just pretty much how super cool it is. Let's see. What is Gundam Giant Robots? Peace, love, yeah, all that. It's not memes. It's not just giant robots either, but they're super cool anyway. Let's see. A lot of the series is focused on like why war is actually super bad and why we should try and stop doing it. And also environmentalism sometimes-ish. I don't know, it depends, weird. Let's see. Sometimes they drop colonies from space, as in like colonies with people in them. I don't know why. Sometimes main characters die, and that's okay. Let's see, not everyone's a villain. Why are robots that are red go, but why do robots that go 3 times faster are always red? I don't know. Let's see, World War II. It's sometimes World War II in space. It's sometimes lasers and feelings. Sometimes it's not anime. Sometimes people just want to forget it. There's a lot of different parts to Mobile Suit Gundam. Yes.
Can we remember with solace in our hearts, Tequila Gundam?
Tequila? That was super racist. I hate that. I hate G-Fighter. I hate G-Fighter. And no, SD doesn't count either. Either way, it's a super fun thing. I personally love it. There's a lot of influence in anime throughout, in general. Thank you. There's a lot of influence based on Gundam throughout. We wouldn't have piloted actual giant robot anime in general. You wouldn't have the Gurren Lagann at all without it, and other cool anime like that without Mobile Suit Gundam happening. So that's about it. Any questions? Cool, thanks.
Thank you. This is the last one of the missions we're going to be talking about. This is another one that was done by Joe Priscilla, who is not here, who loves nature and fish and muffins.
So, of course, he was very much worthy of STAR's Earth Day celebration last year. And also, this was STAR's 100th mission. Great for we had a 100th mission. So yeah, I'm going to do my best to give this justice, but really, if you want to hear all about nature in sci-fi or in general, and just like how great planets and sea creatures are, talk to Joe one of the times he's hopefully able to attend. So sci-fi takes advantage of its ability to use new and different environments, and one of the ways it does that is either introducing a new environment or by screwing up the old one so you have to go to the new one. Habitat destruction is sometimes more directly based on things humans actually are doing, like in WALL-E or Interstellar, or any of the many stories that are kind of getting closer to science fact about humans leaving Earth and going to Mars because it screwed up Earth too much. Or sometimes habitat destruction is like Star Wars, where technically they destroyed all of Alderon's habitat. Sometimes it's also about the cost of war or industrialization, which Transformers is uniquely able to do both at the same time. And that tends to be more shorter term and on a specific range rather than those long-term, wide-ranging things that might be less relatable. Sci-fi also goes into issues of waste management. Like, what if we could just put all garbage in a pocket dimension? Or what if WALL-E played Minecraft with garbage? Those are two options. Squirrel Girl says, what if we just throw our nuclear waste into the sun instead of dumping it where people live? But then that didn't work out so well for Superman, so regardless, do not just throw the junk randomly into the space because we're actually polluting a lot of the space around the Earth. Also conserving resources. Sci-fi has a lot of alternate fuels. Obviously solar is a big thing, but also matter, antimatter reactions. Maybe be careful with space glowy stones though, those can be a bit tricky. Or just be like humans and go searching for another thing that's like oil but not oil. Or zombies on treadmills. Food. You could have food in a pill in the future maybe, and then you don't get like the experience of eating food, which is a downside, but on the upside, it takes a lot less resources to produce that. Just maybe don't go like Soylent Green. That's less good. And do not do what they did in Mad Max Fury Road, where they just dumping water everywhere. That's not how you conserve resources. And then finally about species, endangered species. Star Trek has an interesting approach to that, where they just go back in time and rescue species that have been wiped out, like the tribbles or the whales. But they don't really responsibly integrate them into the environment. They're just like, yep, they're back now. Jurassic Park actually the scientists were a lot more responsible about slowly studying a regenerated species in a controlled environment. The problem was the species happened to be dinosaurs. And invasive species, just an interesting note there's a difference between invaders and an invasive species. The aliens in War of the Worlds can't survive on Earth, so they're not really an invasive species. Whereas tribbles are actually a really bad invasive species because they come in and use up all the resources that other things need, because they just eat everything. And that's all the time I have currently. So back to Ava.
So that's all the stuff we did last year. Welcome. Cameron's gonna do the closing announcements and talk us out.
Yes. So
that's it.
I just want to say that you guys had a lot of really good comments. You know, during the lightning presentation that we had up here, we didn't really have time to get to a lot of them. But if you come to our regular missions, all of the presenters put in a lot of padded time in their presentations.
And we talk slower.
Yes, specifically for that reason. So, you know, if you're sitting here like, oh, that was kind of interesting, but I wish there had been more discussion. Most of our other missions, I might even be confident saying all of our other missions pretty much, are much more heavily discussion based. It's a lot more open to the floor. And so bring your cool ideas down there. Also, we have this room until 9. So for the next like 15 minutes or so, you're more than welcome to just sort of hang out, mingle with people. You know, I can't really speak for everyone, but I know the bridge crew, you know, we really try to make ourselves open to, you know, especially new members or people thinking about it. If you want to come ask us any questions about the club, or maybe just like questions about sci-fi, or I don't know, just about my day. You know, I had a day. I have feelings and emotions to you guys. It was great, thank you.
Every dog has today.
But yeah, so you can come up to any of us and just chill out. Otherwise, Yeah, the membership, if you are really excited about the club and you want to get that membership, it's $10 for the entire year or $6 for a semester. And we have a special deal going on tonight and every other night where for $20 you can have a year-long membership and one of these cool star t-shirts. So you can speak to Julio about that. Otherwise, just no meeting next week. Week after that, we're meeting in the reading room, which is like this path. If you take this path, you'll be right there. And the barbecue is on Friday, September 8th from 6 to 9 in the Infinity Quad, which is that big one right at the end of the quarter mile with the big statue that only looks at an infinity, only looks like an infinity if you're looking at it from a right angle. Most of the time it's kind of an oval. That is where we will be.
It also helps look at about ways.
Yes, free food, fun things. So yeah, thanks for showing up everyone to our first mission, and I hope to see you guys more in the future.
In the future!
Sorry, that's the second one.
I thought she was dead.
We made this. We made this.
To the future, not just here.
Hello.